Jason here with Cars and Computers, CJ and Jason. I'm Jason, obviously. Today I'm talking about the G27 racing wheel. It's sort of been my workhorse racing appliance for about the last, I guess I bought that in 2010-ish, so it's about 6 years now, going on 7. It's been rock solid the entire time. I use it for PC gaming. That's my PC rig there. I've also got the PlayStation 3. This does not, however, work with the PlayStation 4, because there is a thing called a lockout chip that makes sure that only Sony-approved peripherals will work with the PlayStation 4, which is a bunch of bullshit. So I would very gladly keep using this wheel forever, because I have been using it for 6 years, and it does contain 2 electric motors, and then a big central gear. The electric motors are connected to that central gear, and you can sort of hear makes a sound. It's always kind of made that sound, but I think it's a little bit harsher than it used to be. I'm not sure, because I've been using it, a couple times a week for like 6 years. And I'm a little worried that the grease has completely flung off the gears, and that that mesh is not going to be healthy for the gears long term. So I want to open it up and see what kind of grease it uses, and maybe get some more grease, or maybe just glob some of the grease out of where it's flung off and put it back on the cogs and close her back up, but you'll get to see what the inside of one of these looks like. So the screws are all out finally. And it does not want to come apart though. As you can see, this is sort of feels like there's a spring or spring tension there, keeping that down. Cranked down these tensioners all the way, and that actually helped push this open. But I don't know if you can see up inside of there very well, but. So yeah, don't be like me when you're taking the bottom off. You really do need to take the shell off. After watching a few videos, I figured that out. So you do have to remove the wheel, which is not really as complicated as I was thinking it was going to be. It's a few screws, you do have to disconnect some electronics, but it's really not that bad. There's just something going on in there. Because of the way I disassembled it, it's impossible to put back together in its current state. So, doing it the right way, top down, not bottom up. Be very gentle. So I don't want to put any weight on these wires if I can avoid it. I really wish these wires were a little bit longer. Can't really get a good grip there. I'm just going to try to remove this circuit board. There we go. Goes the LED cover. Got a single plug in the back, much easier to deal with. There, and the wheel's free. Down to this bit, which I'm going to guess is held in primarily by those 4 screws. Or 3 screws. Can't count. Interesting, this screw feels lubricated. Some sort of very thin oil coating. It's interesting that so many of the structural parts are plastic. I mean, this is a really strong, hard plastic. I guess there's some sort of reinforcing in it. It's not just ABS. And there we go. Good. Just need to turn that guy sideways so it goes out of there easily. Get a hold of it. Plier doesn't seem to like to grip this plug for some reason. There we go. And it's free. Looks like they're just on flexible rubber mounts. Not actually hinged. And now we can take this cover off. Oh, and that's coming off nice and easy. There we go. There we go. So now you can see how that looks. Alright, so figured out how that mechanism works. I'm now going to re-remove these screws. Good look. That screw out of there. Okay. And see, that's what holds this on here. This metal piece here, this bracket, runs all along the back side, up and around. There. It screws in. Those screws are what those are. So put that up, so that's basically free. It's being held in this bracket here, and then slide that out. So go do that instead. metal on metal mounting, so now that can move out. It's still held in by these, and I want to be careful not to damage these because I believe that is the location encoder. Oh, also you can see the wire, this wire here, the wire coming out of the cog. That little cog there, gotta move it down, forgot I repositioned it. You can sort of see that in there. That's the wire that controls the buttons on the face of the wheel. You can see that actually goes all the way through the rotating mechanism down into the back of that circuit board. So that's another thing you got to watch out for when pulling this thing out separate from everything else. And I really can't pull it any farther away than that. That right there is the wire to the encoder. You can see it connects to the end of the motor here. So I need to very carefully remove that. Try to rotate that so you can see and I can see. Maybe I can grip the edge there and the edge there. Just pull it out. There we go. So all I had to do is pull very straight. And, try to do the same thing with these power plugs. Really, if I could avoid it, I'd like to avoid pulling this all the way through, so I'm only going to back this out a little bit. Just rotate that around so you can see what I'm doing. So I got about that much. So I'll just set him right there for now. Now let's see where that connects. That runs underneath this circuit board. I think it's down up in there somewhere. Oh. I really got to watch out for this. That's all coated in grease. Got to keep from touching that, keep from getting that on your fingers. Here's the removed carousel. This is what actually slides on the grease here. It's moved by that gear. You can see the teeth. All right then. Also, you can see as part of that assembly, you can see the gear and you can see this big notch that sticks out. That actually hits the carousel and stops it from rotating too far in either direction. So in reassembly, I have to be careful to make sure that I test the full range of rotation to make sure that it hits when it's supposed to. We can push that out that far, and I think that'll be good for looking up inside of this thing, seeing what the condition of the lubrication is. Now, try to keep that cord there. So you can sort of see, I'm keeping the cord in the center here where there isn't any grease. I'm trying to keep the whole thing kind of like that. Don't move. So now, disassembly. You know, something just occurred to me. Something that really worries me. I don't know what the relation is between the position of this thing and the position of the encoder. Whether or not the position of the encoder and the position of this, if the assembly gets turned at all, if it gets moved and it's off, if that's going to cause steering problems with the wheel. As a result, I don't think I want to go any further. Having just had that revelation, I can't know that that's the case or not the case, so I'm a little concerned. I'm just going to reassemble this thing and devise a way to mark off what location everything is in. I think the solution is actually going to be to try to mark these to figure that. I mean, I can mark this shaft because it's exposed. This one's not, and that's the one that worries me. You can see the top of the gear in here. You can see the top of the cog, and there is a little bit of lubricant on it. It is still wet. And I think that tells me that thing is in fine shape. And I don't really need to go much farther. So that's been the tour of the inside of the G27. If this thing ever stops working, I'll disassemble it all the way, but I think for right now, I think out of fear of destroying my favorite recreational racing device, I don't want to go any farther than that. So we'll just reassemble now. The real pain in reassembling this is that there is no positive snap when that goes in. Like, that's all the way down. It's in. It's seated. But it doesn't. Nothing clicks into place. There's no indication that you've done it correctly. You just have to look at it and be like, yeah, it looks good. And hopefully it is. Thankfully, the power cords do snap into place. Let's get that seated on there. Need to get that carousel lined up. All this black on black plastic really turns this into a nightmare in terms of trying to film it. I gotta put a bunch of light up in there and hope you can sort of see what's going on. Yeah, so you can see that tab moving. See how it hits the carousel at the extreme end. It spins around. Does a lap, and it hits the other end. That acts as the stop. So I think I've got it pretty well centered. I'm going to try to measure it on both ends to make sure it's going the same distance both ways. Looks like it's going a little bit farther to the right than it goes to the left. Just got to adjust it a little bit. Okay, it didn't hit till there, so that's no good. Recenter it, remesh it. Okay, it's hitting there. Need to hit about an inch over from there. About half an inch maybe. Okay, so that's about 3/4 inch on the right, on the left side, excuse me. Let's go all the way to the right. And about 3/4 inch on the right. I think that's about as good as I am gonna reasonably get it without breaking the calipers out, which I'm not gonna do. So now I got to get those screws in there. I just got to hold everything together so it doesn't slip or move. And use my other hand to grab the screws and operate the screwdriver. Alright, that's meshed in there. Probably pretty familiar with that sound if you're used to using this wheel. So I don't want to rest it on the circuit board here, so I need to really carefully hold it up. Probably set that down in the hole there in my workshop. That works perfectly. It's always good to have a hole in your work table. I place a trash can under that, and then when I'm working with wood and I get wood shavings everywhere, you just swipe it all into the hole. It's a lot easier than trying to swipe it off the side or use a dustpan. You just gather it all in there. It's actually small enough I could attach a shop vac to it. Really accelerate that process. Alright, hard part's done. I am happy to say I'm going to rethread the USB through there just to get out of the way. Wrap it around and do like that. That's the way to do it. is disgusting. Quite difficult indeed. There's just not enough slack in those wires. Just like 1 inch more. Yep, okay. I can't assemble this fully plugged in. I should be able to. Hey, hang down enough. Yeah, don't make mistakes like me, kids. Basically it. Get these back in and test her out. Hopefully everything went okay.